Hello friends, this is Growl. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what's going on in Torghast, the biggest new feature in World of Warcraft Shadowlands. I've been playing it over the last few days to get an idea of what's going on in there, what you get from it, how difficult it is, and how replayable it is. Before I continue, I do want to give a spoiler warning. I'm not going to talk about anything related to the story, although you may see some background footage that could possibly reveal some stuff about what's going on in Shadowlands. What exactly is Torghast anyway? Torghast, the Tower of the Damned, is a huge looming structure in the center of the Maw, the main Shadowlands endgame zone. It is the place where the jailer hoards his most precious souls, and you must climb up to the top to free them. Torghast is neither a dungeon or a raid. It's a very unique content in WoW that seems like something you'd find in a game like Diablo 3. You can enter Torghast with a flexible group size, do it solo or with a party, and it will scale in difficulty. If you're playing as a healer or tank, the damage and health of mobs may also scale, although I don't think tuning is quite final yet. Torghast has been classified as a roguelike, but what exactly does that mean? In Torghast, you will receive temporary power upgrades called anima powers. These come in many forms. They could be random damage procs, flat stat bonuses, or even improvements to your abilities. As you climb the tower, you improve your character with many of these anima powers until you get to the final boss, and then after you exit, all of that power goes away. These powers can stack on top of each other, and by the end, your character starts to feel really powerful. Some of these powers are pretty game-changing and can affect the way you play, so each run does feel a bit different. What exactly is a run? To understand runs, first I have to explain how Torghast is organized, and it's a bit complicated, so bear with me a minute. There are two different areas, the wings and the corridors. The wings are the main feature of Torghast. There are 6 different wings with different aesthetics, and only 2 will be active on any given week, in a 3-week rotation. Each wing has 8 different layers, which are difficulty levels. And each layer has 6 floors, including 1 break floor and 1 boss floor. In order to receive max rewards each week from the wings, you need to complete all floors on the hardest layer for each of the 2 wings. A run takes about 20 minutes or so you're looking at about under an hour a week from the wings. There is no requirement to the runs. You can enter as many times as you want. However, if you exceed the maximum number of deaths in a run, you will be kicked out and sent back to the beginning. The number of allowed deaths scale with party size, with solo having 5 deaths allowed. Then we have the Twisted Corridors. This is the challenge mode, or harder part of Torghast. The corridors have 8 difficulty layers as well, however each layer has 18 floors instead of 6. This includes 12 mob floors, 3 break floors, and 3 boss floors, all randomly chosen from the 6 wings. They're a bit more intense than the wings, and are mainly meant for people who want to delve further into the Torghast experience. So what do you get from it? The wings and the corridors each have their own rewards. The wings give you soul ash, which is an incredibly valuable material used for crafting legendaries. You can earn up to a total of 100 soul ash per week. Each new legendary costs 100 soul ash to craft, and every upgrade an additional 100, meaning that you'll be able to afford 1 new rank 1 legendary every week, or 1 max level legendary every 4 weeks. You will 100% be wanting to clear the 2 wings of Torghast each week on every character that you plan on playing, as there's currently no catch-up for this soul ash. If you miss a week, then you're just short, so if you're going on vacation, you better start training your cat to play your character for you. Twisted Corridors, however, is not required to make legendaries. Although it may change in the future, right now the Twisted Corridors are only rewarding Stygia for each run. Stygia is the main currency of the Maw, and can also be obtained just from daily quests, rare mobs, and other activities there. Stygia will be used for adding sockets to your gear though, so if you're trying to min-max your character, chances are you may be spending a decent amount of time in the Twisted Corridors as well. There are also a lot of cool cosmetic rewards available for the first time of completing various difficulty layers, including a mount for completing the highest layer of the Twisted Corridors. In both areas, there are also freed souls, a type of currency that can be used to upgrade your Covenant's sanctum. It either isn't implemented yet, or I'm just not far enough progressed because I didn't come across any of these even after freeing souls during my runs. It's also possible that they add more to gain from Torghast as well down the line. Given that it's the main focal point of the expansion, it wouldn't be surprised if some catch-up gear or other rewards show up down the road. Now that you have an understanding of how all this works, I'll show you some clips of one of the runs I did. This was the 8th layer, so the highest difficulty of the Soul Forge's wing. I'm doing this on a Resto Druid with 184 item level. I wanted to see if it's doable with a class that isn't great solo and gear that isn't very good either. To put it into perspective, Heroic Raid is item level 213. I'm really far below that. This is like slightly better than Mythic 0 dungeon loot. The first part of the first floor was really rough. I had basically no anima power upgrades and there were a couple strong champions right at the entrance. I ended up dying to them once or twice without even realizing how much damage they did, and then I started having to use entangling roots to separate them. All of the guys in Torghast that were tough that I came across, I could CC with roots or stuns, so it wasn't too bad. Floor 2, I used a similar strategy, rooting the hard guys and clearing everything else out so I could just do them solo. I think if I had a party with me or just was a better class or had better gear, I could probably just Mongo into these, but they're still doable as an undergeared healer. Here's the break room. During the run, you collect Phantasma, which is the currency you can use to buy stuff from the vendor during your run. Once that run ends though, all of it goes away, so your best move is to just slam down all of it every time you see the vendor usually. After I started getting some upgrades, it got easier. I could pull bigger and worry less about dying. Once you have a few damage procs as a healer, it gets a lot easier because you just need to survive with your dots up and stuff will start dying. Floor 5 was the coolest looking, although it wasn't super tough. By this time I had a lot of anima powers, and I could just slam everything without much difficulty. At one point I even died because I wasn't even looking at my screen, just spamming buttons, and I stood in some trap or something. I'm not even sure if it's intended that it's supposed to get easier as you go, but it's certainly how it feels with the anima powers as a healer, since I relied on them a lot for damage. Last was the boss floor. This is the only sort of thing that I can see being easier as a healer. I have nearly infinite self-sustain, so as long as I don't die, it will die eventually. I took it down fairly easily and got my Soul Ash reward. Once I completed the difficulty floors in the Soul Forges, I noticed all of the difficulties unlocked from the other wing as well, however not in the Twisted Corridors. It looks like on the first week you'll have to climb up all 8 difficulty layers, but once you do that once, you're only doing the highest one for each area if you want. Considering I cleared this as an extremely undergeared Resto Druid, I'm sure you'll have no problem doing this on any spec. As for my first impression of Torghast as a system, it's okay. Not necessarily my cup of tea since I prefer more challenging, organized group play. You can play this with groups, but I'm sure everybody is just going to bang it out solo on reset day to upgrade their legendary right away. At first it was cool to run around killing pots and collecting souls, however I realized that the only thing that you would ever get from it was Phantasma, which would just make your character stronger in that run. Once I felt like my character was good enough, I would just stealth through as much stuff as possible and completely ignore most of the floor. I've only done some of the easy layers in the corridors since my gear is so low, so I do hope that the higher ones do get really hard, and I end up having to scavenge around floors for more anima power. In terms of daily solo content, however, it's actually pretty fun to do. Much more fun than grinding rep or doing daily quests. However, we'll see what I think about it after my 100th run. Last, let's talk about some other things that I learned about Torghast. First is that there's no leveling here. It's all endgame content. I think this would be cool to change in the future as a way to level alts quickly solo if you just want to jam out some music and not worry about running around doing quests following an arrow. Also, it seems like Torghast will be available right away on release. I haven't seen any posts confirming or denying that, however, it looks like your week 1 experience will mostly be getting to max level, then working up the difficulties on Torghast to get your first legendary. That covers everything I wanted to talk about as an introduction to Torghast. In a future video, I may cover some specific strategies or ideas However, its difficulty seems fairly low, and it's something that's probably best experienced just going through it yourself and doing what you think is fun. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more Shadowlands content, from basic overviews like this to advanced Mythic Plus and raid strategy. Happy keying!